Now, let's join ace broadcaster MAMODE AKUGHA as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, MAMODE AKUGHA. With the victory of Mr. David Lyon, candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC in the recently concluded Bayelsa governorship election still generating reactions, we bring you the position of political bigwigs and the ordinary people as our lead for today's package. From Bayelsa State, we'll move to Ogoni land, where oil-producing communities are prevailing on President Muhammadu Buhari to take the decisive action on oil mining lease OML 11. And finally, in our lineup for today's package is a report on plans by indigenous oil giant Belemaoil Producing Limited to generate 10,000 jobs through the operation of its oil terminal in Kula Kingdom. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be right back after this timeout. Don't go away.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Governor Henry Seriake Dickson and his party's candidate in the November 16 governorship election, Senator b.David, appears to be the worst critics of the electoral process in Bayelsa State. While Governor Dickson describes David Lyon's victory as daylight robbery, Senator Diri recently produced figures indicating that he actually won the governorship contest. This report, correspondent Chika Boduzie describes Governor Seriake Dickson's loss as the outcome of his political miscalculation ahead of the elections.
The November 16 governorship election has been lost and won by two contending political parties in Bayelsa State, the All Progressives Congress APC and the People's Democratic Party PDP. While the winning party, APC, continues to bask in the euphoria of victory, the defeated PDP is still sulking over its ouster from power in a contentious struggle for the soul of oil-rich Bayelsa State. The arrowhead of the PDP in Bayelsa State, Governor Henry Seriake Dickson, may have suffered the greatest loss as he continues to lick his wounds from a crushing defeat at the hands of the opposition APC. Like Alexander the Great, who never lost an important battle in his many military campaigns, Seriake Dickson had mastered the art of winning elections. In April 2011, he became the first politician to be re-elected to the National Assembly to represent Sagbama a.More Federal Constituency. Again, he broke record in Bayelsa State to become the first governor to serve 2 terms of 8 years in office. What exactly went wrong this time?
What took place in Bayelsa was not an election. It was a carefully planned, federally executed operation.
Governorship candidate of the PDP, Senator b.David, a direct political protege of Governor Dickson, describes the APC victory in the November 16 governorship election as daylight robbery in Bayelsa State.
It is only a shameful and laughable act that the votes in Nembe were even higher than the votes scored in Yenagoa, the capital city, where you have more people. For us, the elections on that date, the 16th of November, particularly the figures that came out therefrom, are a charade and a ruse.
Contrary to claims that PDP lost the November 16 governorship election to electoral fraud, there's enough evidence to suggest that the party's misfortune was actually on account of Dickson's political miscalculations. In preparation for the main election, political parties had the window of primary elections to enable them choose and field the most popular candidates with the requisite political capital to win the governorship contest, which is by no means a tea party. Governor Dickson, rather than take cognizance of this fact, decided to shop for political featherweights to succeed him in office. despite entreaties from notable founding fathers of the PDP and other national political figures to have experienced and popular politicians like Timi Alaibe fly the party's flag, Governor Dickson stood his ground. The governor's decision to single-handedly pick and install his successor in office became public knowledge after an audio recording was leaked from his meeting with council chairmen and councillors prior to the September 3 governorship primaries.
All the people who collect from there after me, they are begging everybody in the country to come and beg me. They have brought Obasanjo to me. They have brought General Gusau to me. I said, no way. They will come to the convention and fail. And when they fail, I will manage them and tell them, sorry, stay and work with us. The bottom line is that we need a governor from the restoration team.
Clearly, Governor Dickson's target was Timi Alaibe, who he never wanted to succeed him in office. With the tacit support of the leadership of the PDP in Bayelsa State, Seriki Dickson supplanted his loyalist at the Ward Delegates Congress, apparently to snatch victory from Timi Alaibe and other equally formidable politicians in the governorship race. Without conferring with political actors like President Goodluck Jonathan, King A.J. Turner, and other prominent Bayelsans, Seriki Dickson unilaterally produced Senator Doye Diri as governorship candidate of the PDP and Senator Lawrence Erujakbo as his running mate. The governor's calculation was to take the Bayelsa West senatorial slot, which would have been vacant if Lawrence Erujakbo had been elected deputy governor of Bayelsa State. The governor's desire to be the sole kingmaker in Bayelsa politics drove him to stage a coup in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly. The Assembly Speaker, Honorable Tonye Isena, who reportedly refused to resign his position to allow for balance of power in favor of the PDP ahead of the polls, was purportedly impeached with the use of naked violence. Some state-sponsored thugs had on Monday 30th September 2019 stormed the Bayelsa State House of Assembly complex, shooting sporadically and cutting away the mace. As soon as the armed political thugs left the assembly complex, some lawmakers loyal to Governor Dickson purportedly impeached Right Honorable Tonye Isena and elected Monday Obolo of Southern Ijaw constituency to replace him. In the evening of the same day, Governor Dickson had issued a press release congratulating Mr. Monday Obolo on his election as the new Speaker of Bayelsa State. Most Bayelsans do not agree with Governor Dickson and his political allies that the November 16 governorship election was rigged to favor the APC. They rather insist that it was a case of conspiracy against a man trying to play the godfather role in Bayelsa politics.
Leaders are supposed to pay attention and know the complaint of the people and know how to adjust. Instead, they're going from word to word. And that is why even now go to market places, all the women jumping, dancing, streets everywhere, joy all over the world. That's showing that indeed Bayelsa people need a change. And this change is not from man, because it is not easy to topple a sitting PDP state in Bayelsa.
Like Humpty Dumpty, who suffered a great fall from the Great Wall of Colchester, Governor Seriki Dickson is left to his fate as he prepares to vacate Creek Haven by February next year. But if the governor and his allies insist on enforcing their political rights, they have an option to approach the courts, as President Muhammadu Buhari has advised.
Inside the Niger Delta.
On February 14, 2020, Honorable Henry Seriaka Dickson will relinquish power as the fourth democratically elected governor in Bayelsa State. Governor Seriaka Dickson goes down in history as the first chief executive to have served out 2 terms of 4 years in the oil-rich state since Nigeria's return to democratic regime in 1999. What else will Governor Seriaka Dickson be remembered for, you might ask? In this report, correspondent Tekena Amilfore chronicles some of the legacies of Ofruma Pepe, as is widely known and referred to in Bayelsa politics.
Until his rise to a position of political prominence in Bayelsa State, Honorable Henry Seriake Dickson, a native of Tororua in Sagbama local government area, was a police officer who later took to law practice. After serving as Attorney General of the state under the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan, he was in April 27 elected to the National Assembly to represent Sagbama Ekiremo Federal Constituency. In April 2011, he was re-elected for a second term as federal legislator, but later succumbed to a higher calling in public service. After securing a landslide victory at the November 2011 governorship elections, in which he got an estimated 90% of the people's votes, Honorable Seriake Dickson was on February 14, 2012, inaugurated as the fourth democratically elected governor of Bayelsa State. On assumption of office, Seriake Dickson immediately swung into action to restore the dignity of Bayelsans with the implementation of several projects initiated by his restoration government. By April 2018, the Dickson administration had initiated over 104 projects, most of which have been completed or nearing completion. Some of the projects were executed to improve on existing infrastructure in education, health, social engineering, and capital investment. At the expiration of his tenancy of Creek Haven, Governor Dickson has to his credit the commencement of work on the Agge Deep Seaport project and the Bayelsa International Airport, which is almost ready for use by air travelers within and outside Bayelsa State. In addition to his achievements in project execution, Governor Dickson has championed the Niger Delta struggle to the admiration of stakeholders in the region. As chairman of the South-South Governors Forum, the Bayelsa State Chief Executive has been able to galvanize other governors to fight for full payments of 13% derivation funds accruable to Nigeria's oil-producing states in accordance to Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. In October 2018, the Supreme Court of Nigeria found merit in the Governor Dickson-inspired legal action when it ordered the federal government to adjust its oil proceeds formula to comply with provisions of the Constitution. In the month of March this year, the countryman governor set up the Bayelsa State Environmental Degradation Commission of Inquiry to determine the extent of ecological devastation attendant on the activities of oil companies, with a view to holding them accountable for their action. After several months of investigation, the commission led by the Archbishop of York, Dr. John Sentamu, few weeks back submitted its preliminary report indicating that the activities of the oil companies amounted to genocide in the communities. When the final report is eventually launched in London early next year, Governor Dickson intends to prick the conscience of the global community to consider the urgent need for environmental justice in Bayelsa State and, by extension, the entire Niger Delta region. It is on record that the outgoing governor of Bayelsa State, a staunch advocate of fiscal federalism and social engineering in Nigeria, has had cause to rise in defense of his people at critical moments in their perceived political marginalization by contending political forces. It will be recalled that during the trial of immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, Governor Dickson was able to galvanize his brother governors to speak up against perceived injustice against one of their own. Before he joined partisan politics several years ago, the fine gentleman endowed with the power of oration was actively involved in a struggle for the emancipation of the Ijaw ethnic nationality. Soon after he assumed office as governor, Seriake Dickson decided to broaden the scope of his political activism to include the rest of the Niger Delta, which makes him perhaps the strongest political voice in the region. By an act of providence, the outgoing governor of Bayelsa State is the right political activist to step into the shoes of a retiring Edwin Clark as the most respected voice in Nigeria's beleaguered oil-rich region. With less than 3 months to the end of his eventful reign as two-term governor of Bayelsa State, Honorable Seriake Dickson is already a lame duck in the political affairs of the self-styled glory of all lands. While his exit from the seat of power will certainly strip him of an unprecedented political influence he enjoyed before this time. Governor Dickson has the option to reinvent himself politically by staying the course as the mouthpiece of the Niger Delta region. This would require him to sink his differences with all estranged political allies and assume the status of a statesman in the Niger Delta region. Without a shadow of doubt, Governor Henry Seriake Dickson has sufficiently demonstrated his abiding faith in the Niger Delta cause and is generally looked upon as a leading light in a struggle in need of more volunteers.
Inside the Niger Delta.
More Bayelsans have continued to endorse the outcome of the November 16 governorship elections as a true reflection of the collective wish of the people. They, however, called on Governor-elect David Lyon to transform the socio-economic landscape in Bayelsa State and take it to greater heights. Correspondent Lovely Ofigo has details.
Reacting to the outcome of the November 16 governorship elections won by David Lyon of the All Progressive Congress, Bayelsans described it as a true reflection of their collective aspiration as a people. They claim to have broken the record of a 20-year rule by the governing People's Democratic Party (PDP) on account of a popular candidate fielded by the opposition All Progressive Congress (APC).
It's a reflection of the will of the people, it's not party matter.
We want to thank God because at the end, there is victory in the town.
For the ordinary non-partisan Bayelsans who still celebrating the emergence of David Lyon as the next governor of Bayelsa State, his election marks a new beginning for Bayelsa State.
For the past 20 years or so, it has been one party. A state where there is no opposition most times lacks development. So we are happy to see opposition party today taking over.
In the next political dispensation, Bayelsans look forward to a new direction that would reposition the state on the first lane of development.
I urge the losers to congratulate the winners. I also expect the winners to create a level playing ground for those of them that equally spend their resources to contest for this exalted office, to be accommodated in the governance structure, because governance is inclusivity.
What I want our upcoming governor to do for us is development. We need roads, we need electricity, we need empowerment, employment for graduates.
David Lyon of the APC pulled a total of 352,552 votes to defeat his closest rival, Doye Diri of the PDP, to emerge winner of the November 16th governorship elections in Bayelsa State.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Still on Bayelsa politics, Governor-elect David Lyon has promised to make service his watchword as the next occupant of Creek Haven. The Southern Ijaw-born politician made the pledge at a press briefing in his country home after the declaration of the governorship election results by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Governor-elect David Lyon at the press briefing expressed gratitude to Bayelsans for the trust and confidence reposed in him as the next governor of Bayelsa State. Mr. Lyon, who was flanked by Minister of State for Petroleum Timmy Silva and other leaders of the APC, promised to ensure effective and efficient service delivery in governance.
This victory for APC is a victory for the people of Bayelsans. We remain loyal, respectful to serve Bayelsans. And we believe Bayelsa has gone through a lot of issues. We are here with the help of stakeholders, all Bayelsans, to amend and correct those mistakes.
I have a lot of confidence in the governor that we have. He's already done enough for the people of Bayelsa as a private citizen, and as governor, I believe that he will really do well for Bayelsa.
In confirmation of his election, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) last week issued David Lyon a certificate of return as the duly elected governor in the November 16 governorship election. The governor-elect in Bayelsa State, who appears humbled by the victory, advises Bayelsans to sink their political differences and collectively move their state to greater heights.
This is the time for us to come together. We have missed a lot. So let us come together to develop this our great state.
As a demonstration of his desire to run an all-inclusive government, David Lyon has since extended an olive branch to his political opponents.
And now, away from politics. Uncertain about the future in a seeming rat race for the ownership and operatorship of oil mining lease OML-11, oil-producing communities in Ogoni land have prevailed on President Muhammadu Buhari to take a decisive action in their interest. The oil-producing communities want President Buhari to award the license for the operatorship of oil mining lease to an investor that will right all past wrongs associated with oil exploration and exploitation in Ogoni land.
The scramble for OML-11 at the expiration of Shell's lease on the Ogoni oil fields has become a source of worry for Ogoni communities who would not want a repeat of bad history in Ogoni land. At a recent meeting with several groups in Zakpon, Kana local government area of Rivers State, leadership of the conscience of Ogoni people reiterated the community's wish to be consulted in the award of the expired oil mining lease.
What we are saying that whoever company that is interested, we don't know whoever, but I want to say you must not use us, the Ogoni people, to learn how to drill oil. Because it is your handwork, it is what you have, your scorecard that will determine if we're going to talk business with you. So if you know you're not being in the business of drilling oil, please don't bother because we will not accept it.
We throw out purported template by some leader, some acclaimed leader or factional muscle president. We throw out their template. It's not working for Ogoni, it's not representing Ogoni. We have the Ogoni Bill of Rights.
So it's not something that anybody can take it through proxy. He can't take this oil through the back door. Mr. President understands you're going to struggle. He, by his power as the Minister of Petroleum and also the President and the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he should as well understand that the Ogoni issue is a very peculiar issue.
At the end of the meeting, the Ogoni people maintained that Shell, which is in court with the federal government over the operatorship of OML-11, had no stake in the mining lease to be bought by any investor. They expressed confidence in the ability of the federal government to resolve all controversial issues bordering on the operatorship of OML-11.
And they have decided at this assembly on the issue of oil that we have adopted NNPC to take over the facility. Understand, the president will direct NNPC to take over the facility, and MPDC is to take over, and the Minister for State for Petroleum and GMD should engage with the Ogoni people, not leaders, not anybody that would call himself leaders. Come back to the grassroots.
OML-11 stretches between Rivers and Imo states and has 14 lucrative oil fields, 10 of which are located in Ogoni land, where Shell was ousted in 2003 at the height of its face-off with host communities.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Belemaoil Producing Limited, an indigenous exploration and production company operating in the Niger Delta, has concluded plans to create 10,000 jobs in the region and beyond. The decision is in fulfillment of the company's pledge to create employment on a massive scale, shortly after it was awarded crude oil export terminal at Kula in May this year. Correspondent Tekena Miofuri has more.
The Department of Petroleum Resources under the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources had in May this year approved the establishment of an oil terminal for Belemaoil Producing Limited. The establishment of the Belemaoil Terminal in Kula, which is strategically located on the threshold of the Atlantic, is expected to facilitate crude oil storage and transportation. To this end, Belemaoil is shopping for a preliminary skilled workforce to operate the facility in line with international standards in the oil and gas industry. In operating the oil terminal, the indigenous oil giant has concluded arrangements to create about 10,000 jobs. In the first phase of the project, Belemaoil is to employ 68 persons, with 30 drawn from its host communities. 23 other candidates will be selected from across the 23 local government areas of River State, 9 from the states comprising the Niger Delta, and 6 from each geopolitical zone of the country.
We will try to maximize the participation of the stakeholders of the region. The initial phase is to start using Nigerian manpower to operate and maintain the FSO with little people from the original operator.
Those to be engaged by Belemaoil are mechanical engineers and technicians, electricians, able seamen, captains for ships, DP3 systems operators and deckhands who are expected to have NIMASA and ORON certifications. They will be further trained and certified for the job in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, where the vessel to operate the FSO is currently undergoing construction.
This unit will be sailing to the waters in Nigeria by the end of the year or early in January, expected to be in Nigerian waters in February.
The inclusion of local manpower in the operation of the Belemaoil Terminal is in furtherance of the company's mission to create sustainable wealth in its host communities and the rest of the country.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's the size of our package on the program today. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. Until same time, same station next week, I am MAMODE, a.Akugha, saying thank you so much for watching and bye for now.